Hi, my name is DJ. I joined Makaisa because I knew since I was a freshman in high school, because I was really seeking this, getting familiar with Filipino or XA, whatever you want to consider yourself as. I was really longing for that because I grew up with pretty much a lot of white people at my school. And although there was Filipinos at my school, they were very whitewashed and we couldn't really get along in the spectrum that I got along with people in this club. So a lot of my secretary almost background. Whoa, why is my picture so big, Vince? Okay, so I've had a position with extracurricular clubs since I was in 7th grade in middle school. So I was in ASB from 7th grade to senior of my high school career. I was event coordinator for all that long time. Thank God I didn't get off it because I don't want to do it again. But I did that, and I also was part of CSF, which is California Scholarship Federation, and I was also working as PR for that for almost 3 years. And I was also the co-founding and vice president of my school's hip hop club since I was a junior in high school to my senior year. And an experience that I believe that targets this secretary position that I had experienced is that I was in contact with my local family crisis center for almost 3 years, coming from sophomore year to senior year of high school. And basically what I did was I would talk to the director and we would organize programs to help people who are less fortunate, and one of them being a hygiene program. So basically I got contact with donors, and those are, high schoolers or teachers from my school, and we would get donations and then give them to the crisis center and, give them out and do drives. I decided to start attending officer shadow meetings because I was curious. I didn't know that if I was ready as a freshman to, run for a position, and only since there was 2 spots that was running. So I just decided to go to the ones that were being held and see what it was there for me. And also, I had a talk with Ben one day in the 2nd floor in one of the study rooms, and he knew that I had a lot of things that I wanted to help out and change about this club. And change meaning for a good change, not like any drastic changes that I didn't like. It's just to enhance the club. And he really heard me out and listened to me, and he also kind of did agree with what I had said. So it felt nice as an officer and as a newbie member of the club that we can both get into connection spectrums about topics like FG and PCN upcoming next semester. And also, lastly, that I just want to say, because I know we're running out of time, me wanting to get involved with this club as an officer position is directed towards the betterment of the club, and for me giving back for the experience. It's not for, for solely me. The only me part that comes into it is for my personal growth as a person and me communicating with other people. And also, yeah, thank you to anybody who nominated me. That's all I gotta say. Questions?
2 questions. Being the secretary of the club shouldn't just be taking the notes, making the prezzies, stuff like that. What do you think? How do you think you could support the other officers?
Well, the way I can support the other officers, since I've been with other clubs and orgs prior to this experience, I feel like since I did almost everything prior to being a secretary, I feel like that good mixture of experiences could help me help other officers with their doings.
My 2nd question. This is your 1st year in the club, and as a college student, how do you plan on managing your time with that?
I do understand that I am a pre-health going into nursing pathway, and that is a really difficult position if I am an officer and a student. Honestly, I do understand that I have to prioritize my schooling because that's what I'm here for, and I also know that my obligation, if I do get this position, is to be an officer. And honestly, I would communicate with since I'm just by myself as a secretary, I would communicate with the other officers, because if I can't do something because I'm prioritizing school, I shouldn't push myself to the breaking point where I can't do neither. So of course I would tell my other officers that I can't make something, and there's always other ways in the future to bounce back to work towards that. Really?
Let's see. You mentioned you talked with Vin about changes or like things you want to enhance about the club. Could you elaborate a little more on that?
It is. I personally think it's like a touchy subject, because like, you know, like everybody has their different opinions about FG and stuff like that.
What's your
But,
vision?
huh?
What's your vision?
My vision was like, I was talking to Reina and Chris, and this was literally before I talked to Vin about it, and we were like, oh my god, like we should do like more fundraiser like stickers and then like sell them, and so like we can get like, you know, like an FG like shirt for us to wear on like our own end, and then like whatever like towards the costumes for our next theme. And we were all talking about like, oh my god, this is how we're gonna do this and that, like just like fun ways of like expanding FG and stuff. Because I understand like we were ironing shirts the day of, and like I wouldn't want to have that on my ad there or like anybody else. So just preparing ahead of time. And also you heard me talk about it at the RSU, where I was just like, oh, let's brainstorm some themes right now for jokes and giggles, but I actually kept that note because, you know, for the future references. So yeah, just it's better to be prepared rather than have it come to you and have nothing at all. So yeah.
Sorry, this is an add-on. It sounds like a lot of this work sounds like it also fall into event coordinator territory. I know like you've talked with people about how like you're kind of iffy about being like event coordinator. There are like times where there are things about being event coordinator you're kind of iffy about, but like do understand like roles in cabinet are very fluid. You're like there are times when things are going to overlap, and and you might be doing something like as the stuff you've mentioned, you're gonna be doing stuff that EC is also doing. So is this something you think you can do?
The reason why, like, okay, the serious reason why I didn't really like see myself doing EC again is because I got so used to the position, and I feel like as a person I could branch out doing something like secretary, a position that I've never done, can grow as a person even if I make mistakes, because then, you know, I have people in the club, you know, sharing their input and I can learn from that. Honestly, if I do get nominated, if I do get this position and there's a time where, you know, an event coordinator or both of them are in need of help, I wouldn't mind helping out, because I was in their shoes before and I know how it feels like to not have someone behind me to catch my back during some projects. Ethan?
As a breakfast secretary, right? So as secretary or as any of the officers, there's a plethora of skills that you would need to be able to be successful in your position. I feel like as secretary, you need to have like time management skills, your ability to communicate, your ability to be able to stay organized. Why do you as an individual feel like you excel in this area, in like these areas with other areas over your peers?
Honestly, I used to think that I was good at time management till I hit my freshman year of college. I realized that balancing school and like all these, you know, minor hangouts, even in study, it can get a little distracting. But again, as I said before on Rowan's question, it's like a learning progress. And like, I know that if I do get this position, like the first week will be overwhelming because it is a commitment for that semester and we're doing a lot of things. I feel like I will learn to excel in them because there's always room for growth. I can't just say I excel in them right now because I don't know my potential in the next future semester. So yeah, just for growth.
Same question as Vince. If there was a conflict between you and one of the other members, or one of the other board members, how would you go about solving that?
Honestly, like it would take a lot of analyzing if it's a confrontational or not, because sometimes there are disputes or issues that would be like up in the air, but then they'll slowly die down by themselves. But if I have to get to the point where I have to talk to somebody and confront them, I will. Hmm?
How would you explain this role in your own words?
My own roots?
Your own words.
In my own words?
Yes, how would you explain
I'm
it?
sorry, I couldn't hear. Secretary, I would just call it a mixture of all, because you're not only you're not only the club's secretary, but you're also the other officers by themselves as secretary by any chance. If there's any minor conflict, you would step in, because that's your job as secretary, is to catch what can't be catched by the actual roles of those officers.
I just wanted to ask, will you be participating in PCN?
Yes, I just had missed 2 practices because I was prioritizing school.
And then, what is one way you would promote PCN?
One way I would promote PCN, since I did PR, I would like to help Nina create more posters for social media, or like post like Instagram stories of like practice. Not only just for other people, other members to join, but for the outer Fresno State pop like area. So like getting other maybe families to come check it out and stuff like that, because it is our like only one time being connected with the public in a public performance. Yeah.
Knowing you, I feel like I feel like you could get overwhelmed very easily. How will you handle that with PCN season?
Honestly, sometimes it's just like take a deep breath and like just do it, because even though it's like stress, it's a good stress because it has a good payout at the end. It's just like, okay, we're gonna grind, and then the outcome of it is really pretty, and then you would feel relaxed and you'll be happy that you put all your effort into it. So I feel like it's just good stress. Yeah.
I'll go to that.
Yeah. Any other questions? Vince.
You work Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Oh my God, we're twins.
Oh my God.
So for next semester, how are you going to balance that? Especially since we do a lot of Friday stuff.
Honestly, well, like TMI, my boss actually prioritizes my days off, so she understands. So if I have to take like the 2 weekends off, she would understand. I had actually talked about her about pausing my Friday to Sunday schedule and only start working next summer to prioritize like the events at this club, because I know that it does get plentiful during the weekends before events. I think Ricky had a question.
So it's kind of off of what Ben said about for PCN. Already, in general, it's hard to be an officer, but it's very hard to jump into officership for PCN semester. It's something that hasn't really been experienced. Your current officers haven't really experienced the full bulk of PCN. So in terms of trying to keep the cabinet organized, how would you go about checking your officers as well as checking in on them?
Honestly, before we like start any like major like PCN and stuff, like I would get together with my fellow officers, be like, okay, how is everybody's schedule going with like their personal lives? Like, is there events that you need to like do, and then you can't, be there for this event for this club, and just honestly like trading off like who can be there, because I understand not everybody's gonna be there. So it's just working with like the personal schedules and stuff like that, and also getting to know like taking time or like taking a break. It's just like, okay, let's step back and ground ourselves and organize ourselves before jumping into another practice. Continue. I was talking to somebody and they were like, you practice 8 hours like 2 days a week for your Sipaga Bay, and I was like, yeah, that's pretty normal. Like 8 hours is a lot. And like I understand like sometimes we need those breaks. We're gonna have to take those breaks and organize ourselves with our other officers about like this time schedule being, because it is hard for the older officers.
Any other questions for Richard?
Alex?
you were talking about like grind, get it done, but being secretary and kind of like balancing school, how do you feel about burnout and like the possibility of that? Because you know we're all human.
Honestly, I'm gonna admit I'm kind of in that phase right now. I'm gonna admit it. It's just like I kind of want to get this semester over with. But honestly, that burnout stage, if I have to pull out myself like mid, and I understand that like it's always mental health. If I have to pull myself out mid-semester next year and be like, oh, somebody has to take a spot, I will. Because like at the end of the day, I still would love to prioritize this club. But if my mental health is dwelling, I'm gonna come clear. I'm gonna communicate with the officers and be like, there's something that I can't do anymore, and it's hurting me. Now, if somebody's experiencing burnout, either a member or an officer, honestly, as a decent human being, I'm gonna reach out to them and, you know, talk to them about it. And it's like, is this something that you can still do? If you can't, then it's okay to give it up. There's always something in the future to bounce back on this on. Dang, I'm answering a lot of questions. You guys are really grilling me.
Any other questions? You good? All right.